talk today is about the climate change, and when it happens, we just had Helene recently, dangerous storms, right? And the natural inclination is for people to move away from danger. Yeah, because it can be really, whatever you do, you're still you're in harm's way, and the people tend to move. So the big question today on the topic itself is suggesting that there are people who can move and those who cannot move. There are trade-offs, and the decision to move is a very big decision. It's not a small thing that you can decide and then you change your mind later. There is a cost. So there are trade-offs that people have to make. Okay, if they move, they're going to be losing maybe the community and the network, the social network they have established. Or there's a cost as well, and all of other things. So in this study, we are going to be looking at those kind of scenarios. And, but before that, we can just think about the frequency, and I hope this pointer is going to be able to. You see, I can't even. I wanted. There is a link here to the. I'll just go the old school way. So the frequency of natural hazards has been increasing, and you can see this this histogram here. It was published by Washington Post on the 24th, and look at how the natural hazards have been increasing. There is an astronomical increase from 2008 somewhere. This is really bad, and there are places like Phoenix, Arizona. They throughout summer they went triple-digit temperatures. You can bake it. You can bake it. An egg or the time, right? And when we are going to have the Olympics in very soon, and there are some cities which they are not going to be really suitable for the Olympics during summertime. So we are really facing really big issues, and these are things that are in the policy debate of the things which everybody is now discussing, and that's why I think this kind of research is very motivating in the sense that it's in the policy agenda. Everybody's mind. They are thinking about the safety of places to go and not to go, and such kind of things. And then I think in 2020, 3.2 million people, adults, they were evacuated because of natural disasters, and 500,000 of them did not come back when they were evacuated. They stayed someplace. And the frequency I just showed of those natural disasters is increasing very quickly. Now, this is the problem. And I think this is something, I'm sorry, in the sense that if you go to a place, for example, let's look at the Katrina, the way it happened, okay, and the people who were affected. Okay, there are people who can afford to proof their houses, their homes, against this natural disaster, and there are some who cannot. Now, if you look at the literature, it shows that there's lack for the people who are the subpopulations of color. They have that problem that they lack the robust, storm-proof, and modernized infrastructure resistant to the flooding and hurricane force winds. This is a study which was done by Andretti in 2020. And then there is another problem that the low-income people, they settle in the areas which are really prone to these natural disasters. I'm going to show you this map here to make the point. This is the Harris County in Texas. Now look at this. I mean, this is the place which is safe. It's a safe place. It's not flooded and everything. Look at the race and ethnic groups who are settling in those areas. So there is no problem here in the green area, and those are the statistics. Now look, as you come down to the danger zone, okay? Look at how the Hispanics were 36% here. It jumps to 48%. And then it increases to 50%. And look, these are the places which are flooded because there was flooding, and then there was flooding because of the climate change. This is a very good study which is showing in a pictorial way the ethnic groups and how they're changing in relation to the natural hazards and the danger. So this is from this county, the Harris County, and it's quite a recent thing. And the other thing is that, again, because of this change, the differences in exposure to the dangers when there is temperature or there is flooding and all that, there are diseases which there's an outbreak of diseases. And there are people who do not have health insurance and all those things. Again, they are exposed. Now, there was a study which was done. It was looking at the exposure of the people to wildfire, the hurricane, and temperatures. And the studies are showing that the minorities in these areas, which are affected, the people who were affected by those the diseases and their heat strokes and all that, majority of those people were the minorities. That's something which is not a good thing. Now, we are also looking at the movement of people, but at the same time, when those people move, they move with their money. So which are the counties which are losing people who are well off, and which are who are left behind? And that's a study which we're also looking at. And Mahalia had a talk which was related to these things, and she had details, so I'm not gonna repeat what she said. I'm trying to emphasize on things that she did not talk about, and you're gonna see that. Now, what is this study doing, and what are the gaps that it's filling? Many studies on the impact of climate change and natural disasters have focused on specific aspects, like vulnerability and others. But also there's a really big focus on in developing countries. Well, it's because, again, as I said before, that maybe those people are not sort of adapted to that because of the endowment of resources that they cannot do, and that's why many researchers, they tend to go to low-income countries. But the danger is coming to high-income countries like US, and that's something which is motivating this study itself. Now, there is limited studies on the impact of migration on the origin and destination communities, and this study is trying to close that gap. Now, these are the three research questions that we are addressing. The first one: what is the spatial pattern and trend of the natural hazards themselves? Mahalia covered very much. I mean, the majority of you are not in that room, but I'll just give you a snapshot of what was seen. And then this is a bigger question which we have in the title for the presentation. So when climate disaster hits, who moves to safety and who is left behind? And then we also look at the impact in terms of income, because look, if the people with high income are moving away from a county to a different one, that county is left in worse off than before. And that's something which is of concern, is something which is very, very important. Now, the focus of the storms are, there are storms, the flooding, hurricanes, tornadoes, and wildfires. But in this talk, I'm just going to focus on the storms, hurricanes, and wildfires, which frequently occur in areas of the the minority people where they live, and that's why I'm focusing on this on these ones. Now this is the part of the property, the per capita property damage 1991 to 2020 per climate hazards. So you see flooding is almost spread throughout. And then the tornadoes, you see there's a tornado alley. I went to school in Kansas State. I know how it feels. And then the hurricanes, they are on the Atlantic seaboard, and as you can see, the wildfires on the right in the west, and then these storms are also, they are well spread out. And the data set that we are using the ARS data migration data set. This is mainly to capture the income, because the tax return filings are the ones which are, it tells you who moves and how much money they had and all such kind of thing. So this data set is the one that we're using very much to be able to capture the income movement. And the other data set that we are using, because we are going to use a model, as you're going to see in the section, we are using a SAR model which captures all those things. And this is the data set, and those are the sources of the data set that we use. But maybe I can just point out that the natural hazards, we are getting them from Shield's data set, which is from the Arizona State University. They record all the billion-dollar damage natural hazards, and those are the data set which they are recorded at the county level. It's a really good rich data set, which is very, very useful. Now, the analytical method that we use this spatial regressive model, SAR model. So for the kind of data, the advantage is that it's a two-dimensional thing that it tracks the individual units over time. And that's very important, because we can be able to capture the impact of the hurricane, and because the hurricane could happen today, but you're not going to have a job in a different location for you to move. So there's a lagged impact of that hurricane. When it happens, its impact on migration and income could lag for a while before people decide to move. And that's why this model is very good for us to use. And also, it also tracks the trends of the effects of the covariates on outcomes variable over time. So you can be able to map the impact of the hurricane over time. And this is what this model does. And it also determines the neighborhood effects on both the covariates and the outcomes as well. But the disadvantage is the computing power it needs is a lot. We're doing this model, you hit the run button, and then you have to stay for a couple of days before it finishes. That's a lot of computing power. And especially on this partial weight, which you have to use, it's a very big challenge for this data. The statistical model that I was using, and it's a really bad one. They were telling me that you should better use MATLAB, because MATLAB is good, but no, I was not trained in MATLAB, and that's why it's a problem. The other problem with this model is that it needs a balanced part. So if there's one missing observation, you have to throw the whole data set. So it needs a perfectly balanced model, meaning that there's no gaps. Any gap means you're going to lose data. That's something which is not good. All right, now in terms of migration, we are looking at the net migration, meaning that you take the inflows, you net out the outflows, and then you take the total. And then the migration of races, this is the one which I think it's something which is new to you as well. That the way we're doing this one is that we have the percentages of the populations by race and ethnic groups in each of the counties. So that one is changing over time, naturally, whether there is a natural hazard or not, okay? And there are changes which are coming because of this natural hazard. So we are netting out that natural changes in the composition of the races and the ethnic groups, as well as to see trying to capture the impact of the natural hazard on how they are doing that. This is not a perfect way of capturing it, and it's not capturing it perfectly, but we are trying as hard as we can to be able to capture, so that we can be able to answer that question, that who moves and who is left behind. And that's what we did. I'm not going to belabor you with how we do it, but what we do is that we take this is like the end line season, the end line, like the end line, the after and before, right? So the after is the end line and the before is the baseline, okay? So you take the difference between before the end line minus this one, but we are taking an average of 5 years, 6 years, so that we do not just get one aberration and then it drives the whole thing. So we take an average for both years, the end line minus the baseline. So that's the kind of approach that we are using. And then we are netting out that natural changes in the demographics in each of the counties. This is the delta MIF. Now, in terms of income, the income is that this is the adjusted gross income, AGI, the inflow minus the outflow. There are people who are maybe rich, who are moving in a place, but there are also others who are going out, and this is what we're trying to capture. And then again, you take the total as the divider. And these are for the SR model, these are the covariates that we are dealing with, the natural disasters, which are listed below, the natural amenities that we're having here, and then the socioeconomic factors, and then the other variables. Now, let's go to results, the movement of people. And now, this is what we did, that there are hurricanes, because we are dealing with one single county, okay? There are places which they may be in the areas which are affected by the hurricane, okay? But you may find, but just chance that, well, there was a hurricane in the Katrina, but the other hurricanes are not hitting that county. So that you will see a decrease, okay? But in some cases, the frequency and intensity of those hurricanes is actually increasing. In that case, that county, we are taking it as the one which there is an increasing natural disaster. But there are, so we are dividing, even in an area where there is I'm giving an example of the hurricane, even an area where there is a natural disaster which is happening, there are counties where you will see that there is a decrease, and the others which you're going to see an increase. And if there is an increase, okay, if you really love your life, you better go away. Now, and that's the kind of thing that we are capturing. So we divided those counties into groups. The ones where there is an increasing the cost of those natural disasters, and this is what you see. So the storms, there are 362 counties where we saw there was an increase. For the hurricanes, there were 7 of them, and for the wildfires, they were 12. Now, look at this really depressing map. These are the white non-Hispanic, and these are the black non-Hispanic, and these are the Hispanic of all races. Look at this, what's happening here, that there is an increase for the hurricane, especially the areas with the hurricane, storms. These are the ones which are, they're increasing. And the areas of wildfire, they increase. So while there is a decrease for the white non-Hispanic, which is the natural thing that one would expect, that move away from danger. There is fire burning, you better go away. And this is what is happening with the white non-Hispanic. All the graphs are going down. And look at the level. this almost 10% for the wildfire, and then for the hurricane it's about 6%, and then for the storms it's about 3%. Yes, sir.
So this is the average percent population change of these ethnicities in counties.
Yes,
in counties that have increasing storm minus the natural migration. Okay.
So we are answering the question: who's moving away? The white non-Hispanic, and who is left behind? Mainly the Hispanic or races. And a bit of the black one, non-Hispanic. So this is a very, very good point to make that, look, these are the minority groups, and they are actually remaining behind in those harm's way. And recall, let me take you back to this literature that we did here. I want to show you this so that we can have a picture of what is happening. This is a very good agreement with what we are seeing, that look, these people who are deep in the water, they are the Hispanic, they account for the 50% in this one county. And that's exactly what we are seeing from the picture that we just showed. And that's something which it has really big policy implications, in the sense that the Hispanic population in the US is increasing, right? And the Hispanic populations, again, they have very strong networks. They are less likely to move away because they don't want to go away from those networks, and they are likely to be staying in areas which are dangerous, even though they know that it's dangerous, but they don't want to leave behind the community. They have established a very strong network, and that's something which it has, again, really big policy implications. All right, let me go back and see. Okay, now to sort of let's now look at the SAR model, which is it is giving us the indications of what is happening. The first thing is that we wanted to look at how the natural disasters, how are they affecting movement of people. We are seeing there is a negative, at a national level, there's a negative impact of the flooding on movement. That's something which is telling us that there are trade-offs that people still do when they are trying to move. So we were expecting that should be positive, right? That there's a danger, people should go away, but this is not what the model is telling us. And we have accounted, okay, for the other variables that are I'm not showing them, but let me just remind you of what. Sorry. So these are we are accounting for all these variables, and the result that I'm showing you are the ones which are just looking at these ones, and the ethnicities, whatever it is, it's somewhere there. So because the focus is on the top of who goes and who is left behind, but we are accounting for all the other variables. But I'm not showing all those because it's too much. Okay, so. Right here. And then it's only in the West that you see, okay, people are moving away from flooding. This is the positive side, that they are moving away from that flooding, but it only happens in the West, but at national level it's negative. Again, because the US is big, huge, and you see the kind of movement that is happening and all that. I'm not surprised that at the national level you can see such kind of thing. But if you take the one region and you focus on that, these are the results that we are seeing, that people are moving away from flooding. Now, look at the hurricanes. All the signs are negative. Why? It's because people, there are trade-offs that they are making for them to move to Florida, so they don't have these brutal winters and all that. And we have seen a lot of movement towards Florida, and that's something which they are going towards the danger. Again, there are trade-offs that people have to make. That if they go there, they're gonna have maybe good natural amenity and all that, and that's what we are seeing. It's frustrating that we are getting the signs which we did not expect, but this is what the beauty of research, that you get. So that we still have a job to do, right? If we get everything which is as expected, we're going to lose our jobs, and that's something which is good. So these negatives, they are telling us a really strong story that there are some areas which they are too attractive for people to move away from. That's what we see. And then the wildfires as well. The West, okay, the one which is hit hard by the wildfires. People are stuck there, okay? The wildfires, when they happen, people move towards the wildfire. There was a paper that we did when it was published in 2022, and when it went out and flocking to the wildfires, and all the news media convert on my areas. And that's something which is really good and very interesting. And these are the interesting issues that we need to really talk about. Why is that the case? What can be done to be able to reduce the impacts of those all those natural hazards on people? That those natural hazards are not driving people away. Instead, they are on there. So that's something which is quite interesting. Now, in terms of looking at the race and ethnicities, we compared the benchmark comparison is the white non-Hispanic, and then you see that accounting for everything else and just looking at the race and ethnicity, you see that the black, come what may, okay? You compare them with the white and non-Hispanic. In the South, they are less likely to move away from the South compared to the white. So they are stuck there. And that's something, again, it has really interesting implications. Now look at the Hispanic, right? At the national level, in the Midwest, and in the South. They don't want to go away. Yeah. And that's something, it's quite interesting. Now, the implications of these are quite interesting in the sense that we have to protect those people. What can be done to be able to do that protection, given that the natural hazards are not driving them away? And in some cases, they're actually going to it, right? Floating to the fire. Now, what do they mean? I mean, they really mean one thing in the sense that if you look at each of the counties, they have some budgets for sort of proofing the areas against the flooding and all that. And there was one study which I did not cite here, and it was seeing that in areas that they were of the counties with high income, they have invested a lot into these flood-prone areas and be able to sort of to weather through those storms, and that's something which it is telling that once that happens, it is something which need to be done so that there is a sort of infrastructure development and investment into making sure that people are not affected by this flooding, and that's something that needs to be done. And the fact that the minority groups are the ones which are actually remaining in those areas, and or worse, they're actually going there where there's fire, then they run to fire, like the fire department. So it is something that it has really very strong implications, and that's something that needs to be done to be able to reduce the impact of these people. Now, in terms of income,
5-minute warning.
5 minutes, my goodness. I did not expect that I'm going to run out of time. Okay, now I think in terms of income, what we are seeing is that look at these negatives. All these negatives are saying that people who are well off, they run away from the natural disasters. So look at those negatives. There is only one positive here, which it's not a good. And then look, they are going towards the natural amenities. They are going towards the areas which are nice and beautiful. And then because I have run out of time, let me go to the socioeconomics. Look at this. That this is not global; it's national. Okay, race and ethnicities. That compared to the whites, there is an increase of income at the national level, and this is one implication in the sense that. They provide a lot of services, okay? So you are likely to see them in areas which are well off, and that's what we are seeing here, the explanation that you can get from there. And then this is persisting throughout, that wherever there is income increasing, you see the Hispanic communities going in that direction. That's something which it's again the provision of services and all that. It's the one which we think is driving this. So I think the summary is that we are seeing movement towards areas which are prone to these natural disasters, especially for the minority ethnic races and ethnic groups. And this means that I think we need to just have some strategies, investment strategies for minimizing and proofing those areas against these natural disasters. And that's the end.